All of you have asked for it many times, and finally here it is. We're going to see how to implement push notifications with Firebase and Xamarin.Forms, and in this first episode we're going to look at Android. Let's go! Now, to implement the push notifications, I'm going to roughly follow this blog post by Leo Mares Reyes. She's really cool. She is putting a lot of great Xamarin content out there as well. So if you are not following her yet, go check her out because it's really awesome. And this is a blog post on the Progress Telerik blog where it says how to use push notifications in Xamarin.Forms. And it describes all these things, how to do it with this plugin, the plugin Firebase push notification. That is the one that I'll be using as well. She describes how to set up the project. We're going to see that right after this. How to set up the permissions, how to do all the things for Android, for iOS. But this is the steps that I'm following. So go check out the link if you want to have some kind of reference. Check out the link in the video description. This is what I'll be following. So before we dive into any code, we need to first set up that Firebase project. So you can do that by going to let me check here, console.firebase.google.com. So that's where you want to go, and then you have to sign in with your Google account, etc., etc. But eventually it will take you up here, and you can see I already got a couple of sample things here. But what you want to do is add a new project. And then you can see it asks you for a project name. So let's name that. You can go about this two ways. You can create separate projects for your Android and your iOS projects, or you can both do them in the same project. So I'm going to show you all of this within the same project, but you can make two separate projects if that's what you like. But let's make this push notifications sample. There we go. So it will create a little name for you, a unique identifier. Then let's say continue. Now with Google Analytics, you can get a lot more information about the push notifications that you're sending, all kinds of statistics, but you will have to link a Google Analytics account to it. I'm not going to do that right now, but if you want to do it, you will get all these A/B testing, predicting user behaviors, crash-free users, etc., etc. You will get all these kinds of reporting. Of course, if you're going to do this, please let your users know that you're doing this, because that is the right thing to do, because they're giving up, some of their info, some of their usage behavior. So you want your users to be in the know about this and be transparent about what you're doing here. Now, I'm not going to do this right now. I'm just going to focus on the pure push notifications, and then I'm going to say create project, which is going to take a little while. It has to set up some things. So it's going to show you this little loading bar and have you wait for a little bit. But there we go, provisioning resources. So it's setting some things up in the cloud right now just for you. And whenever we're done, this takes us to this new dashboard where you can add those apps, and you can do not just push notifications. Firebase is much more. Okay, here we go. So it's done. Our new project is ready. Let's continue, and you can say it takes you to the dashboard for this particular project. Now, like I said, you have authentication, Firestore, real-time database, I don't know, all these kinds of things. I'm going to explore this more because a lot of people have asked me for more Firebase things. If you want to know more about Firebase services, please let me know in the comments and I'll be sure to have a look for you. But there's all these kinds of things that you can do. But here it says get started by adding your Firebase to your app. And it says iOS, Android, and even web or Unity. So let's start with the Android one right now, but this, I think it stays in this exact same place. You can also add the iOS one here. So again, you can have different projects for separate things, or you can just add both of your apps in this project. So let's go to Android, and here I'm going to have to specify my Android package name. So in my case, I always have NL for Netherlands, then my last name, and then push notifications sample. So that is the unique package name that is also used to publish your app in the store, right? So I'll show you where you can find that in your project later on in Visual Studio for Mac, but this needs to be the same. So you can give the app a nickname. I think that's just a friendly kind of name for in this Firestore console thing. So let's say Android app. And you can have this debug signing certificate, which is more a little bit advanced, and I haven't really found the need for it to use this, so I'm going to skip over that for now. And I can say register app, so it takes a little while to generate some configuration file for us. And now it says download GoogleServicesJson, and we need that. So it shows this Android Studio right here, and it gives you some instructions because this does not know or care about Xamarin and Visual Studio, which is fine. I will talk you through it, but we need to download this JSON that holds metadata about the setup for our Firebase and basically your API key. So also be aware of not committing that to a public repository. So just click download. We will need that file later on. You can see it popping up in my downloads right here. So I've got that secured. And then we can go next. And here they're going to give you instructions about adding the Firebase SDK. This all looks, very scary. This is more, I don't know, is it Java? I don't know what it is, but we don't need it. So let's just skip over it next. And the next steps is you're ready. So we can explore documentation or code, but I'm going to show you all of this. So let's just click continue to console. And now you can see here at the top of our console right here that we have this Android app, right? And if you want to add another app, we can just click here and we can select iOS, and we can select our iOS app in here as well, or another Android app, but we're not going to do that. The iOS app will come in another video, so keep on the lookout for that. For now, we're done here, but let me quickly show you a little thing. So I'm going to scroll down here, and here is cloud messaging. It's also here in the bar on the left. It says cloud messaging right here. It will take you to the same thing. And this is the thing we're after. This is the push notifications. They call it cloud messaging. And here it says send your first message. So whenever you do that, you can send a test notification. So we'll be seeing that later on to send an actual test notification. But first, let's now hop over to Visual Studio and set everything up on our Android application and actually be able to receive this notification. Now here we are in Visual Studio 2019 for Mac. This is basically just a file new Xamarin.Forms application. On the left, you can see the main page in XAML. On the right, you can see it running on the the Android emulator, not the iOS one. And I've updated the title here already to be push notification sample. So let's add a little exclamation mark, and whenever I save that with hot reload, you will see it update automatically in the running app. So that is very cool. Okay, so now let's get quickly to the notification stuff. So there's a couple of things that we need to initialize first. So we're going to install the NuGet package for the plugin. We're going to have to set some permission. We're going to have to double check our application identifier. So there's a couple of things we need to do first. So let's get that out of the way. I'm going into my Solution Explorer right here, and on the here the top one, the solution, I'm going to right click and say manage NuGet packages, and there is the plugin dot notifications. It's probably Firebase notifications. I can't remember what the name was. Here we go, by Randy Del Rosario. He's doing some great work. There's a good number of downloads here, but it's not been updated for a while at the time of recording this. So that might worry some people, and that could be valid. But in this case, all the code just works, and I didn't encounter any major problems. So you should be able to safely use this, but of course you're happy to use any other plugins. I think Shiny is doing something with push notifications too, which is really cool, so go check that out. And let me know in the comments, of course, if you want to see it with another plugin that you have seen. So let's just add the package. We want to add this to all of our projects right here, Android and iOS already. So let's do that, and it's going to install, and I think it's going to pop up a couple of readmes on how to get started, but we can ignore those because that's what I will be telling you right now. So while it's doing this, let's go back into our solution right here and go to our Android project, right click and say options. So we go into the options here, and under the Android application pane, we can see the application name, which is always a bit weird. So in my case, XF, which is Xamarin.Forms, and then FCM, which is Firebase Cloud Messaging Push Notification Sample. But the important thing is this, the package name. So that has to match the one that we specified in our Firebase console, because that is the unique identifier for this app, and they need to match in order to be able to send the push notifications over successfully. Now, the other thing that's important is the target Android version, because we need to target at least level 26, API level 26, for the plugin to work properly, because it uses some specific specific APIs on the 26 level. Now note this is a target Android version, so the minimum Android version could be lower, but the target Android version has to be at least 26. And then lastly, we have the required permissions. The only one we need for the push notifications is the internet one, so that we can access the internet freely. And then we're going to click OK, and that is all we need to do for at least this kind of setup. Now let me get this README out of the way. Here we go. And what I'm going to do then is to initialize this plugin a little bit, and I'm going to bring in some code that I'm going to copy and paste from the README from this plugin, because it doesn't make sense to have you watch me typing all the thing. So let's go into our solution, and we need to add a new file to our Android project. So let's go add new file, and let's call this application. There we go. Whoops, not a forms content page. Let's make it a empty class. There we go, application. And like I said, I'm going to copy some stuff off screen here, but I'll walk you through what it does. So boom, here we go. Don't be scared. We'll see what it is. And we need to actually import some usings, because now it doesn't know this stuff. So let's import a couple of usings here for the application, which is the Android app one, and it knows that. So for this one, Android runtime, and here it wants to know something about the Android version number, and of course our Firebase push notification manager. So here we go. Now we got all the bits in place. Okay, so what this does, this registers this class as like the application class for your Android one. So you will see a lot of stuff with the application lifecycle, like the onCreate. So don't confuse it with like the main activity one that we have here, because this is the main activity. So an activity and an application is something different. If you've been working with Android, you probably know, but this is more like for the application lifecycle. So that is above the activity basically. Now what this does, it checks if we are above Android O Oreo, if I'm not mistaken, and then we can work with channels. So channels in Android, you can have different channels, and you probably want to make use of that as well. I'm just going to show this with one channel, which is like the simple use case. But if you want to have a channel for sending your marketing messages, or a channel for sending your, the actual notifications, you want to make these things two channels, because in Android, users can manage these channels separately. So they can say, hey, for the marketing ones, I appreciate you doing it, but I don't want to get notifications for that. So it's going to disable it entirely. And for the normal notifications, then you can still allow that as a user. So that is pretty cool, because like on iOS, for instance, it's just on or off. And if you set it to off, you get no notification. So on Android, you have a little bit of more fine-grained control to actually be able to do that. So make use of that, especially if you want to have one channel where you will send notifications more often, which are not essential to the workings of your app. Then you want to split that out in a separate channel, because else the user is just going to shut off your notifications and you can't reach them anymore. So this is kind of the default values. Default notification channel ID, which is some sample value, can be any string value as long as it's unique for this app. And also the default notification channel name is general. We'll see a little bit about this later on. So let's see if we debug. So here we have some initialization line with the Firebase push notification manager .initialize, and it wants to have the context, which is also an Android object thing. So we can just pass in this. And the true says something about the reset token. So if we are going to debug, then we are going to reset the token each time, which is apparently necessary if you run this in a debug scenario for Android. And of course, because that token is the token that will be used to send the push notification to. So that is the unique identifier for the device of this user, and you can send a push notification to that token. So if we are not in debug, then we definitely do not want to reset this token, because then they are going to have a new token each time the app starts, and you can never send a push notification to them. So that's not great. And they're showing us here like a little sample event on notification received. Like this is if you want to handle something Android specific, but there are also events to do that on more of like the cross-platform level. So don't worry about this for now. We'll come back to how to handle these things. But this is kind of, high over what you want to do. We've set up this. That is great. Now, the next step is to go actually into the main activity that we've seen before. Here we go. So also the onCreate, and here's some essentials initializing. Here Xamarin.Forms initializing. And here we have the load application. And after the load application, we can say, I don't think the order really matters, by the way, but you can say Firebase push notification manager. There he is again, notification manager. So let IntelliSense help us here using plugin Firebase push notification dot process intent. Here we go. And we want to set the activity. So the activity is this. And then we want to have the intent, which is, I think, something that's coming in here. Is it the saved instance, I think? Is it this bundle? I think so. There we go. I don't think so. No, it's not. Okay, then what is it? Intent? Oh, intent. I think that's just something intent. That is something that is a property, a field of this actual activity. So an intent is something that what triggered this activity to come up. So with the process intent, we need to set this up to pass, like whenever the push notification is opened, we have to, it's going through here and it's going to process the intent and see if it needs to invoke one of the events on this plugin for you to be able to handle it. That sounds kind of abstract, but I hope that will become clear later on. Don't worry too much about it, just make sure this is in here for it to work. Now, I think one last thing that we need to do is add that file that we downloaded from the Firebase console earlier. So let's go into our solution and to Android, and you want to right click and add a existing file. And here you can see the GoogleServicesJson. So this holds all kind of API keys and our unique application identifier. So we want to add that to make the Firebase stuff initialize properly with all the right values. So let's just open this and move it into this one. We don't need it for anything else. So let's just move it into our project right here. And then into our solution, we want to actually have this GoogleServicesJson. We want to set the build action, but there is something funny about it. Because you want to right click and set the build action right here. And there should be, but there isn't always, a GoogleServicesJson build action. And looking at this, it's not here. So you see this has a lot of build actions, and depending on that, this file gets a little processing. And same for the GoogleServicesJson file, but it's not in here. One way to fix that is to install a package manually. So let's go here and say manage NuGet packages, which is the Xamarin Google Play basement. So you can either do the base or the basement, I think. And although I think let's do the base. So let's do this one. And if we install that, it takes a little while to install. Then we need to accept. We get some other things which are already linked basically through the plugin that we installed here, but somehow it doesn't get wired up properly. And in our solution now we can go to the Google Services, our build action, and we see the GoogleServicesJson here all the way down to the bottom. So now we have that proper build action. We could set it to that, and it should be processed properly and set up for us to use in like the notification. So one thing that we still need to do is not entirely required, but it will help us in this debug scenario at least. So let's go over to our solution and then into our app.xaml CS. So that is basically, whenever our apps start up, the shared library app of our Xamarin.Forms application. So here we can say cross Firebase push notification. Let IntelliSense help us a little bit here. And .current, so that is like, how we can access all the APIs that are in this plugin. And here you can see a whole number of events that you can use. Now, be sure to check out the documentation because some might have a little different behavior depending on if you're using iOS or Android, or maybe not Fire at all. But, you can use all these things. So you can see if the notification is opened or received. I think that's a good example, actually. The notification received is only happening on iOS whenever the app is in the foreground, so you can handle the push notification like in-app. But we'll see that in the iOS video. And the deleted one, for instance, I think that's only supported on Android. So make sure to check out what is supported on which platform. But the one that I want to show here is on token refresh. So whenever this device, this app gets started and the device goes out to register it with Firebase, then it will get back this token and then the event is fired. So let's add this one and add a little event handler for that. So there we go. I just press tab and the IntelliSense will generate a method for me. And here in the event arcs, we can see that we can get the actual token. And that's what we need to debug this thing and run it from the Firebase console. So let's just put this into our system.diagnostics.debug.writeLine. Here we go. So this will write it out to the application output just so we can see what is going on here. So let's say token and e.token. There we go. So now we should be able to see the token, and that is what we're going to need, at least for our debugging, to send a notification to our application here. So let me stop and restart the application and bring it back with the console here on the left as well, so you can actually see and send a test message. So here we are now in the Firebase console for our little project application. We can see the Android project is still right here, but we're going to scroll down to the cloud messaging thing right here, and then we can send a test message. Send your first message. It's not a test message. Beware. So if we click on that, we can use it for test messages. So let's test and test message. Now let me tell you a little bit about the rest here, because this will compose an actual push notification. You can schedule it, you can do some other things, but the UI is a bit weird. So it will show you like a little preview right here, but you can also target different audiences or apps. You can schedule them, and you have some additional options, but you can't go here straight away. You have to go through this next, whatever. But the options in here definitely also are taken into account whenever you send a test message here. So that's a bit weird, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So now what we want to do is whenever you click here, send a test message, is you'll get to this screen where you can add that FCM registration token, and then you can send it to that device. So that's why I wanted to implement that little piece of code that gives us the token. So if we go to Visual Studio now quickly, and we go to the application output, we can see here that we have a token. If you look real closely, it's a little bit small, sorry about that. But there's this long token that we want to copy right here. And then if we go back to our console, we can add that in here, click the plus sign, and then it's added to our list here. Now remember that the Android app resets the token all the time. So if you restart the app, you have to get that token out of there again. So if it's not working, that is something worth checking. Now let's put this app in the background, because we don't have any way to do it in the front, and whenever the app is in the foreground, it's not going to show. But whenever we send this, now we can see it popping up here. We can see a little icon coming up here, and we can also see a little little badge here over the application icon. So if I pull down here the notification center, then you can see our test message is right in here. And whenever I click that, I'm brought back to my application, and of course the badge is reset also. So that is pretty cool, right? Now, you notice that it didn't give me like the little bar that you're actually seeing here. And there is kind of the way Android handles the notifications has a importance. So it's low importance or high or urgent. And depending on what it is, it will only make a sound, or maybe make the LED blink a little, or it will actually show the bar. So there's a couple of things you need for that, and the first thing is to let the user actually, allow to show these bars. So if I go to the settings right here, and we have the apps and notifications, and this is the one that we are using right now. You can see notifications, and we can see that general thing, the general channel that I have set up. And whenever we do here, this is allowed to pop on the screen. So we're actually allowed to do that. And of course also alerting or silent. So, the user has all this control over notifications, so keep that in mind whenever you implement this. And then whenever we go back to Visual Studio, we have these default notification channel ID and default notification channel name. But what you also have, so this is just one of the ways that you can set this up, is the Firebase push notification manager, and we can say default notification channel importance. So here we go. If we set that and I make this, I don't know, high, probably then high or max. Let's make it max so that it's maximum importance. And we save that, and I have to stop and rerun the application, of course, for this to take effect. So let's do that. Then it should actually pop that little bar that we wanted to see, or at least I wanted to see it. So that is how you can do that. Of course, if you set these channels up properly, then you can do this definitely different as well. If you just create not a default notification channel, but I'm just going off the idea here that you are sending simple push notifications, just one channel for sending your things. So let's put this in the background. Let's go back to our console right here. Send the test message. Of course, we need the new token. So let's remove this one. Go here to our application output, and we have our new token right here. And go back to our console, add it into our little thingy here, and send a test. And now hopefully we should get that bar. No, it isn't. Oh, so maybe this has to do with the options that we have here in this console. So let's go next. And here you can see the target. So you can do a user segment or a topic, or you can select also the app. So we can select an app, and I also only have the Android app in here right now. But if you add the iOS app to the same project, then you can do the Android app, and you can click the AND operator right here, and we can also add the iOS one, so you can send them to all of your applications, but we only have this one for now. We can schedule it for now or for whenever, and here we can set the additional options. So, I think here this is where it's going wrong. So I can specify the channel that I want to send it to. So this is again the channel that you want to use for maybe marketing or your other things. So let's jump back into Visual Studio, and it has to be the channel ID. So let's get this Firebase push notification channel and go back here, put that in here. You can also add custom data that you can also catch then in your application and maybe process. So maybe, I don't know, you're going to send like, hey, you have a amount of new messages in your inbox, and then that amount you can put in here, and you can use to show the user that you have 10 new items in your inbox or whatever. You can just put custom data in here that you can process in your application. And to make extra sure that we are noticed, we can enable or disable the sound right here. So let's enable that. Now down here we have review or saved as draft. Again, this is whenever you're going to send actual push notifications. You can do it through here, or of course in some automated way. There are APIs to communicate with Firebase as well to send something automated through this, which is, let me know. I will make a video about that as well. But if we go back here to our test message, now the options here are also applied to our test message. So let's send this again and see if it actually does show up now. See? So now we get the bar. So I had to set that real proper channel ID to actually send it there, and then it will pick up on that importance, and it will also probably play that sound that we have set up. And whenever we click this, we get back to the application. So that is how we can send our first push notification to our Android application with Xamarin.Forms and Firebase Cloud Messaging. There are a lot of customizations possible for the push notifications, because you can set the icon, you can do a custom sound, things with the channels. So if there's something more that you would like to see, if you have any questions, please let me know down in the comments, and I'll be sure to see if I can provide you with an answer, or maybe record a new video altogether. Other than that, I hope this was clear to you. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please click that like button. And while you're at it, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and click that little bell, because the people at Google, they also, implemented those push notifications. Now you know how hard it is, how, they had to do it, and why not reward them with, enabling them and getting a notification whenever I post a new video. And other than that, I will be seeing you for my next video. Keep coding.